Yes, 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 it is Tuesday, which means it's a new Off My Bridge. My name is Guy, and today we are looking at time travel as requested by one of you folks. Big Sarge said, hey, let's talk time travel. Why not? It is a major theme in Star Trek, having been in multiple different films as well as in dozens of episodes of our beloved series. Time travel. It's an interesting thing. Now, don't you wish you could time travel and hit the subscribe button or that bell button so you could be notified when more of these shows drop and never miss an episode? Well, guess what? You don't have to time travel. You can do it now. Here are just some of the ways in which characters have time traveled, and I had to write it down because it's quite the list. A space event, an alien event, a technical imbalance or accident, a mind event, a parallel dimension, an intentional requirement, world evolution, natural period, and a simulation. There's actually no time travel, they just think it's time travel until they realize that it's not time travel. Those are pretty broad categories that each allow for multiple variations therein. And some of them are fun, some of them are a bit predictable, and some of them are just... I'm sorry, what? Really? That's what happened? You really should build in some safeguards against that. Before you create a time travel adventure using one of those systems, you as the GM have to know how the PCs can get back to their time. What is the MacGuffin? If it is an accident, let's say there's an imbalance in the ship's engines and they happen to go to warp 10, but just before they hit warp 10, they slingshot around the sun, and so they go back in time because of shenanigans. How do they get back? Can they just recreate that time-wobbling thing and get back? This, of course, is the theme for Star Trek, the motion picture 3 and 4. Is that how it's going to work? Do they do that? Is it something like a transporter accident where they accidentally get sent back to the wrong time period? How do they get back without a transporter? These are questions that you must answer. So if you're sending them back to a period when there's dinosaurs roaming around and they have no technology, how are they getting back? Is it because aliens beam them back to the time frame that they're in? Could be because, I don't know, the temporal watchdogs from the 28th century arrive and say, you're not meant to be in this time. Off you go, back to the future, if you please. Is it that? Do they just need to build a catapult that'll slingshot them at 88 miles per hour? It's entirely up to you, but you must have a solution on how they're going to get out again. It's as simple as that. If you don't, there's going to be a problem. Now, if you look at something like Deep Space Nine, and I forget the name of the episode, so if you know it, put it in the comments down below, where the Defiant finds a planet surrounded by an energy field. The Defiant goes through the energy field and discover that they've been transported into the future, the far future, as a matter of fact, where their own progeny are running around, generations of their own children are running around. If they leave, of course, they erase everything, time goes back to normal. It's a great time travel episode, and their departure, their getting back to their own time, is actually very simple. The question is, morally, should they do it? I generally will look at it as, do I want this to be a technical solution, i.e. the PCs need to come up with some kind of harebrained scheme to get back in time? Is it just how the adventure ends? In other words, aliens will just bring them back or the temporal police will bring them back? Is it something that's just going to naturally occur, that they are only there for 48 hours or 24 hours and they just have to survive long enough to basically make it out? Is it a moral dilemma? Once they have solved the moral problem, they return to their own time period. So I kind of look there first, deciding what kind of solution I want. How do I know which of those to choose? Well, that depends on the previous adventure. If the previous adventure was significantly complicated or technically oriented, then I'll probably defer more for a moral decision or a temporal decision rather than a mechanical solution. I just find that it helps keep the adventures feeling fresh and different. So once I've decided on that, well, then it's a case of picking the time period. Google to see what happened in a particular year. What happened in 1234 AD of significance that could affect the timeline moving forward. Go do some research, learn a bit of history. It's a lot of fun, and you suddenly go, I never would have thought that someone who was dealing with wood cuttings in a little town in Germany would revolutionize the entire planet. Just randomly pick something that you find interesting and go, well, you know what? Statistically, I should be thinking about the Romans roundabout now. And now you are all thinking about the Romans and the centurions and Julius Caesar. You're welcome. Maybe it's a time period that you want to go and explore. Once they arrive, that is when you then need to decide what exactly it is that they're going to be doing there. And here is where it gets really fun. Replace a historical figure and have to continue to follow through the historical event, even if it means that they're the ones being assassinated. Save a historical figure from outside influences. And this is where you can play on the morals. What if they discover that some aliens have decided it's best to assassinate Adolf Hitler before World War II? If they do this, World War II doesn't happen. Instead, it happens later on in the 50s between, let's say, Russia and the US. The space race doesn't occur. When it does, it's much, much, much later. And as a result, the Vulcan survey team passes by the planet Earth as Zefram Cochrane is now doing his warp experiments 60 years too late, and the Federation is never formed. The PCs now have to actually prevent Adolf Hitler from being assassinated. It's an interesting moral question, and could take your campaign in a wildly different direction, but that's the fun of running these kinds of games, right? Avoid a historical figure. It could be that the PCs find themselves suddenly part of Adolf Hitler's entourage, and he keeps turning to them saying, I want strategists on how to take the Western Front. And the PC's like, well, we can't tell you, and if we don't tell you, we're going to get shot. It's another moral dilemma. Or perhaps they have to prevent George Washington from crossing the Delaware, or King George from appointing a horse as a Minister of Parliament. Whatever. I mean, you can have so much fun with it. They might need to cause or stop an event. Maybe they need to bring about the French Revolution. Maybe they need to be the first one to stab Caesar. Maybe they need to prevent Caesar from dying in a random skirmish in the middle of Gaul. Still thinking about Romans? I know I am. Damn those Romans. Anyway, all sorts of things can happen when the PCs have to cause or stop an event. And of course, there's nothing stopping you from... You have to cause a war that happens in 2072. You have to make something happen that's in the near future. You have to stop AI from taking over. Something like that. So time travel doesn't necessarily need to be into our past, just into the Federation's past. A standard one is that the players have to return in time to get and prevent some tech that's suddenly shown up. What do you mean the Australians developed transporter technology in 1963 and take over the world? We have to stop that from happening. That shouldn't have happened. It could be nice and benign, and that the PCs are sent back in time to simply observe an event. At what point did Charles Darwin aboard the Beagle really make his connection between the different finch beak shapes of the Galapagos Islands? It's a very critical stage, but the PCs have to just be on the Beagle and observe and take notes because, well, it's something that's of vital importance to the Federation at that particular time. They're not allowed to interfere, they're not allowed to stop, they're not allowed to participate, they just have to observe. And of course, that's when things are gonna go wrong and one of them gets arrested or violates something or distracts Darwin because they're just too damn sexy fine. Of course, there's the standard go back in time and nick something that no one will notice but that we need in the present, i.e. the future. Oh, I don't know, a couple of whales should do. Or perhaps it's an ancient stone that fell to Earth from an orbiting Vulcan ship and has given humans telepathic powers. Or perhaps it hasn't any major impact at all. It's a case of, actually, the Roswell crash, we need to steal the real ship and replace it with a hot air balloon. Otherwise, we are screwed. Alternatively, the crew discover a trader of rare antiquities, and they go, hang on a second, how on earth did you get this letter written by Winston Churchill to the king? This letter needs to get to the king, and yet our history says that it hasn't gotten to the king. You stole it? We've got to go and put it back. We have to deliver this letter to the king before anybody notices. So they have to return an object to the past without interfering or causing any kinds of issues. That's an interesting twist on the go take something out of the past kind of idea. Another lovely one which crops up, and they deal with it from time to time, but no one really wants to dive into it too much, is a grandfather paradox, or a grandmother paradox, or a great-grand-aunt paradox. I mean, whatever, however you want to play it. The players have to go back in time to make sure that one of the player's characters' great-great-great-great-great-great-great ancestors actually hooks up with their other great-great-great-great-great-great-great ancestor as well. Or perhaps they need to do it, because if they don't, they cause a, end of universe type of event. However you play it, it's a lot of fun and can be a really, really crazy episode of the wrong bedroom at the wrong time type of thing. Have fun with that one. It really could be fun. Well, all that's left is for me to say thank you for watching this episode, and I've got a list of 10 potential time travel episodes for you to ponder, and I challenge you to add more in the comments down below so we can basically inspire one another. And so here they are in no particular order. The crew find themselves going back in time to help themselves when they were at the academy. They have to help their younger selves, who you will get them to create as temporary PCs, and it should just be a lot of fun watching them explore what they were like at the academy. Imagine all of that kind of stuff. Picard has done it once or twice where he's gone back to make decisions that he regrets at the academy, but this one, well, this one is your PCs, and that makes it special. They have to go back to the Roman era to find an alien who's been manipulating Caesar. I had to do it. I didn't have a choice. They need to go back in time and prevent the Klingons from killing Shakespeare over copyright infringement. They also have to make sure that Shakespeare gets several copies of Klingon plays that he just happens to be able to read. Dinosaurs. They go back to the period of dinosaurs. They have to do something, prevent something, cause something to happen, or perhaps if you're really clever and you want to do a throwback to the Voyager episode that dealt with the dinosaurs, they need to go back and help the dinosaurs build their starships to get off of planet before the asteroid comes in and wipes them out. Traveling back in time to a planet's far history to witness the beginning of a galaxy-changing event. This is a bit of a generic one, but it doesn't have to be Earth. It could be going back to the beginning of Vulcan to see when the Vulcan-Romulan split happened. It could be going back to the beginning of Bolian to see when the Boleus giant media extravaganza happened. Totally up to you to go back and explore and see what you would like to see. The PCs could travel back in time and accidentally create the Borg by helping a species learn how to adapt their cybernetics to the point that the cybernetics almost take over the species. The PCs could actually come up with the idea for the collective and then implement it, only to realize that they've nurtured and become the grandfathers of the Borg. Another fun option, just to really kick it up and to explore a very dark time period, send the PCs back to World War I and put them in a trench. They literally just have to survive for 48 hours. And it's not an easy survival. Do some history research, and I guarantee you'll find some amazing opportunities for some cool stuff, like perhaps the PCs participate in the soccer game that took place between the German and English-French lines. One of the ones that I really want to do is that the PCs go back in time and find themselves aboard a actual pirate ship, where they have to make sure that a certain Spanish galleon is sunk to cause the Spanish to have to rethink their entire enterprise and to bring about Sir Francis Drake's journeys. One of the PCs is taken back in time to pose for Michelangelo as he carves his famous David statue. The other PCs have to go and contend with a vindictive and mean old Leonardo da Vinci, who hated Michelangelo. They were contemporaries of each other, and to thwart a Medici plot to gain specific technology that Leonardo has invented accidentally and which may cause the entire change of history altogether. Finally, the PCs have to go back in time to just before their birth. And they need to do something that's going to bring about their birth. And if they don't, of course, they cease to exist. This could be a lovely little character exploration episode where you choose 2, maybe 3 of the PCs to do this. The other 3 are stuck on the spaceship trying to figure out how to bring them back. That is what I do with Star Trek time travel. That's how I approach it. And otherwise, it's a pretty standard adventure run, thwarting, collecting, delivering, or discovering. And they are a lot of fun. There's a reason why we love them. Anyway, until next time, an encouragement to hit that subscribe button or to hit the bell so that you get alerted to when episodes drop, which is every Tuesday, by the way. And just know that next week, we're going to be looking at the different eras of play and why or how they make a difference to us as GMs. Until next week, I wish you long life and happy gaming.